My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and I got the flu, but I'm still here on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And, yeah, it hurts. I'm hurting. I'm not going to lie. I've been taking all kinds of medicine, and, you know, that's what happens when you go on a trip during flu season. You're just bound to get something, and that's what happened, and so here we are. But the State of the Union address is coming up, and a little bit of adrenaline pump doing the show is going to help me. So I figured, what the heck, let's do it. So we're here. We're going to do it. We're going to do this show live. I'm not going to be on a long time, but I am going to bring up my good buddy Ron Bellum in just a second. Let me adjust this camera. And we're going to talk about the State of the Union address and all these idiot celebrities that just can't keep. It's all a publicity stunt for a lot of these people. It's how they make themselves out to be more important than they really are because they act like crap. And so we'll start it right now. Let's do it. So I don't know exactly what I know a little bit about what I'm supposed to do when I have the flu, but I may have made a little bit of a mistake there earlier. I took a hot bath. I took one earlier today, and that made me feel a lot better. If you're getting this flu, hot bath will help you, but you got to be careful because I already had fever, and it felt great. And I went in there, and man, I'm telling you what, I overheated, and it was bad. It was real bad. So be careful. If you have this flu, it's not as bad as I had swine flu back when I was in the FBI, believe it or not, and I thought I was going to die. I didn't know if I'd wake up, and yeah, I don't do any dairy at all. I do almond milk, and then yes, Epsom salt as well. Yeah, Tamiflu. I'm already past that, unfortunately. I should have done that when I got back from Las Vegas earlier in the week. So. It is what it is. We're here, and I'm going to bring on my good buddy. Is there sound, by the way? Can people hear me? Is there sound? Yep. Okay. So, hold on a second. I'm getting all kinds of tweets here. Hold on a second here. Okay. I'm going to have Ron Bellum on here in a minute. He wanted to discuss some stuff. He's actually doing his show at the same time I'm doing mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call him here in a second, and we're going to discuss some stuff, my book, some other things. And first I got to find this dadgum plug-in. One of the reasons why Apple's having such a hard time? Because they're such idiots because they did, they took the freaking microphone jack off the phones. Why would you do that? What sense does that make? Hold on. It makes about as much sense as everything else that the tech world does. It's all about sales. Well, I'm just going to have to hold it up, I guess, which is okay. So, when I get the flu, I get testy. Dadgum. So why don't I do this? I'm going to call my good buddy Ron Bellum, and I'm going to put him up here, and we're going to have a discussion, and we'll go from there. I'm sweating like a banshee right now. Just so you know, I'm doing this for you. We're going to talk about State of the Union. We're going to talk about the State of the Union and some other stuff. Let me just call him. I'm just rambling. I'm trying not to do that. Stand by. All right, here we go.
Thumbs up. You can hear him. Jonathan, you on?
I'm on. I can hear you.
Right. We can hear you. I can hear you. Can everybody out there hear Mr. Gilliam? Go ahead and give it a test there.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You got it?
All right, try it again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Can you guys hear him? Give us a thumbs up or let me know. So, actually, I don't get that. I'll just type it. So, yes, Sarah Piles says yes. So, Jonathan, before we get started, brother, so Miss Sarah, it's Sarah Perkins Piles. She's one of your fans.
Yep.
She's also one of ours that we're in Antares Alliance together with her,
Of which I'm going to join.
which you're going to join.
Yes.
It's awesome. So she texted me tonight, and she asked if you could give a shout-out to her daughter had, after our Montana event last year,
Yep.
her daughter was killed in a car accident.
Her mother or her daughter?
Her daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. So she had asked me if there's any way that you could give a shout-out to the Taylor Strong Foundation.
Absolutely.
She'll do you a little bit more, but she's going to throw that at you at your show.
Okay. The Taylor Strong. So what is that? What's the website for that?
Taylor Strong. So, Sarah, put the website up here, please, and we'll have Jonathan take care of you on that end.
My middle name is Taylor, so I know it's strong.
And Taylor was a sweetheart. See, I met her up there in Montana, and it's kind of a, for the Antares family, it was a big deal because we actually all met her, and she was great. She was, and she didn't like to be called a millennial, just like my children.
Right.
They hate called millennials. They actually think that's a bad term for their generation, since her daughter believed big time in the Second Amendment and that about hunting and everything else. So.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I use that term a lot, and we shouldn't pigeonhole people in that because I've met some really good young people who fall into that category, but they're good kids.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I get the opportunity to travel all over the United States hunting, and I'm meeting like-minded people, and the parents, their children are the next generation, and you see them working out there hard. For example, in Louisiana, our duck hunt, we've known those kids for the last 6 years, and they're 20 years old now. So from 14 to 20, they're out there. When they were 14, they're running around out there. Getting the ducks, setting decoys, getting the firewood, saying yes, sir. And now they're 20, and they're saying the same thing: yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah.
And you can really see them kids mature, and just some great kids out there.
Yeah, you know what it is, Ron. If you discipline your children, you'll raise disciplined adults. That's what it comes down to.
It is. I mean, there's just some kids won't listen no matter what you do. They're still going to touch the fire to make sure it's hot.
Yep.
But it's up to us as parents and teachers and society.
Yeah.
To raise these children alike. As Americans.
Right.
So it's TaylorStrongProject.com. TaylorStrongProject.com.
Okay, gotcha.
So just check that out. What they're doing is they're doing a lot with they're raising money for Green and Blue, veteran organizations and first responder organizations.
Okay.
Because she really believed in the military and she believed in our first responders. So, all right. Well, thanks again, Jonathan, for being on here. I know you're sick. I know you got a show coming up, so I'm not going to...
You're live on my show at the same time. You're live on my show, too.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah, we're doing this together at the same time.
All right, good. That's awesome. So here's what we're doing. So we have your book right here, Sheep No More.
Yep.
It's written by you, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something new. I want to tell our audience about Sheep No More, And just a little discussion. I want our audience to go out there and buy your book, which yet last night some people did. They went to Amazon and bought it. And then in about 2 weeks, we'll make that announcement, have you back on the show. And what I want to do is go through the book and just kind of highlight some stuff so people can read the book.
Yep.
And then come back through it and then kind of get a tutorial of it and really educate us on the fact of, being aware, because that's what I'm getting out of this right now is awareness,
Yeah.
and how in society we kind of walk around in blinders nowadays. But in reality, we need to be aware without being, just be aware of our surroundings and everything else. But there's more to it than that. There's leadership stuff in here. I see a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So,
the main thing with this book is chapter 3. Chapter 3 is where you chart your target package information. I mean, the whole thing, Ron, it's basically some of the stuff that we were taught by the training cell there at SEAL Team 4 and in BUD/S, which is knowing the enemy that you're going after by understanding them. You can't just work when it comes to defending. You can't just set up defenses and not study the enemy. So we're so good at the SEAL teams are so good at what they do because they think like the enemy, and they'll quite often, like in Vietnam, they would take their shoes off or they would wear the same type of shoes and stuff. I don't know if you guys did that in Afghanistan, but you definitely wore their kind of clothes, and the American public can get inside the mind of somebody, whether it's a workplace sexual predator, whether it's a pedophile, whether it's a terrorist. There's a way to basically do an intel gathering process and then build a target package on every sector of your life. And that's really what this boils down to, is building target packages on each sector so that you can figure out literally almost every single type of attack that can happen in every sector. And that's what we do when we go out on operation. We try to mitigate the vulnerabilities and the circumstances into our favor by I'm forgetting the word right now, you probably know it, but by mitigating circumstances that we actually can get ourselves in trouble. So we come out with all these different, I forgot the word, not concept of operation, but different, we look at different things and we try to find out where it could go bad. And so
risk assessment.
Say again? Risk assessment, yeah. That's basically what we're doing. But I'm having people look at things from the attacker's point of view. And chapter 3 is really the culmination of what all the stuff that I've learned. But you have to, in the first 2 chapters, we talk about what an attack is and what an attacker, the mindset of an attacker. And then after chapter 3, chapters 4 and 5 talk about information collection. And then in the remaining chapters, we shift to a defensive mode, and I have a lot of different case studies in there so that people can understand, that the authorities will not be the ones that are going to save your life, most likely. It's going to be your preparation. It's going to be your forward thinking, and most people just don't do that. So I'm showing people how to do that.
Yeah, so you bring up a great point. The authorities, as much as they would put themselves in harm's way to protect, generally they're being called in when it's too late. And it's not their fault. It's just, that's the way it is. They're reactive force. Unfortunately, they can't, stop things before they happen. They're just not on every corner. We don't have police force, military, and everybody on every corner to protect us.
Right.
And also to look at it from a bad guy's point of view. So in layman's terms, when you're walking, as simple as this, say you're going to the city, you're going to have some drinks and some dinner and some drinks. Maybe you don't want to walk on that street with when nobody's on the street, where there's no lights.
Right.
Where cut through an alleyway to get to the other sector quick, to leave the crowds. That's where people get hurt. They don't get hurt in the middle of the street with a bunch of people and lights. They generally get hurt on the dark corners and alleys. And I'm not saying bad guys are lurking in the alleys. I'm just saying that if
bad guys are lurking where you're most vulnerable.
That's right. And if you look from a bad guy's point of view, when I look at it, I think it's funny as heck when I go out and I see somebody at a bar or at a thing. When that guy pulls out that big wad of cash and that $100 bill is the first thing covering everything.
Yeah.
Underneath that 100 is probably a bunch of ones to make him look cool.
Right.
But he never spends that $100 bill. He only spends the bills. Make sure he goes under that 100.
Right.
You know, that's one of those things where I tell everybody, hey, don't put that $100 bill over everything. Put a dollar bill over everything.
Right.
As a matter of fact, don't even have a big wad. You know you're going to go to a bar, you're going to spend $100 roughly in cash. Then, you know, you need cash. Then put $100 worth of tens and twenties in your thing,
yep,
with a $1 bill covering it. And you know what? Start a tap, because then you don't worry about somebody. Because cash is the quickest way to somebody.
Yep.
And when you're paying taxi drivers nowadays for Ubers or Lyft, you don't even need to do that. You don't
right,
need to put anything on there. It's already built into the price. So you just get in, get out. Be smart about your environment. Because if I'm a bad guy, I'm looking for targets, I'm looking for that guy that's wearing that Rolex and slinging around cash,
yep,
and aware of his environment, because that's the guy I'm going to bump into and take what I need.
You know, the contingency plans, that was the word that I was looking for earlier. You do the threat assessment, you do the mission plan, you do concept operation, and then you do you try to figure out where things could go wrong and forward think that, so that you don't have to react. So it's going to be an action. You know, we know when we get to this one place that the threat is going to be higher, and if this predictable type of thing happens, then we already have a contingency plan for it. I mean, a perfect example of that was the Bin Laden raid, and when the helicopter crashed, they had already planned for that. So they knew what to do when that helicopter went down. So what this book does is it takes your life, it shows you how to break it up into different sectors. Let's say home in the mornings, commute to work, at work, lunchtime, at work, commute home, home in the evenings, entertainment facilities that you'll go to, so on and so forth. And what you do is once you develop or divide these up into sectors, now you can look at each one with the criticalities of the critical assets that would be attacked, the critical areas that attackers would focus on, and the critical times, because not all times are critical. You know, a McDonald's at 3 o'clock in the morning is not a bad target, but as we saw in San Diego, in San Ysidro, a McDonald's at 5 o'clock in the evening, when the crazy guy went down there and shot and killed almost everybody in the restaurant, that was a critical time. So once you do all these things and you look for these criticalities, you look for the vulnerabilities, you start thinking like the attacker, the avenues of approach. What you do then is you literally can determine, at home you may have 7 or 8 types of attacks. At work there may be 3 or 4. But you will know them, and then you can come up with contingency plans to deal with those things and act instead of reacting. The more you can act, the less you're going to react without a plan. And a perfect example is that in all these mass shootings where people lay on the ground, you're just better off running than laying in the middle of the floor. And but that's what people do because they don't have a plan, and so they're reacting, and they think get low, and then they get killed.
Yeah. So when you're talking about this, this is a broad spectrum. From one end, you're thinking, from petty theft to home invasion to a dramatic end, which is really terrorism.
Sure.
So, your book kind of covers a caveat of all of that, correct?
Yeah, because, Ron, it doesn't really matter if it's a terrorist or if it's a petty criminal or if it's a sexual predator at work or a pedophile. They come up with, they develop a target package. If you look at the Klebold and Harris, the guys that shot up Columbine, for a year they studied to attack that school. And they knew where the soft areas were, where the vulnerabilities. They knew the best time and the best area to hit. And they knew what the response would be. So the same thing goes for a pickpocket in Times Square. They don't just say one day, I'm going to go be a pickpocket. They spend years training to do this. And so they go down there, they have a plan, they know how they're going to push the crowd one way or the other, and they, in effect, have done a target package on that area. So some people may think, well, this is a little over the top. You're teaching people to do this. I'm not teaching people how to be an attacker. I'm teaching people how to look at themselves the way an attacker looks at them so that they can build better defenses. It's really that easy.
That's right. So what you're showing people is to be aware from the other side.
Right.
When you're walking down that street and all of a sudden you get into that crowd where, you know, it's not hard. You and I both know this working in some of the jobs we've done.
Yep.
If you're working a crowd, I can actually push a crowd with nobody knowing I'm doing it. You know, just by walking a line tighter and tighter and pushing in the crowd. Secret Service do that every day when they're pushing through a crowd,
yep.
trying to trick people and keep people away without them knowing that you're being kept away or being checked. You know,
right.
Great. I mean, I've been up there. We've been through that training. We used that process over in Iraq. You know, so what John is saying here is be aware. And what I like to say a lot of times is, be aware of your surroundings always. Always be aware, and especially, if you're going out to crowded areas, know your exit points. Now, it's not so you walk around and you're just all the time just on a swivel, but at the same time, awareness means you know where the exits are. I mean, I guarantee you walk into a restaurant or a bar, you're going to know where the bathrooms are.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you will know. But you know what? I bet you don't know where that second exit is. Heck, half the people probably don't know where the primary exit is where they came in.
Right. And also, Ron, people when they go to stadiums and arenas, they leave with everybody else and they go to the same gate as everybody else. You don't have to do that. You can wait 10 minutes or leave 10 minutes early and go to a completely different gate. People don't think for themselves because they don't realize what threats lie out there, where those areas, those critical areas and the critical times for those areas are. And so they'll walk right into it because they're following the crowd. And it's not that difficult to do this. This book was not written for operators. This book was written to teach people how operators work, but using non-operator language. When I was writing this, I imagined that I was trying to tell my mom how this stuff works. And so, I'm having a conversation with her in my head throughout this whole book. And so it's easy for everybody to read. But the reality is, Ron, you can tell everybody this. You know this for a fact. What we do in the SEAL teams or in the FBI and other places, we do it really good because we do it over and over and over. And when we find a better way to do it, we do it that way. And we're also very aggressive. Well, people can do that same thing. It's not that we're superhuman or super intelligent. We just have great tactics that men have developed through years of trial and error, and we have a process where people are weeded out, and then we're taught these tactics, techniques, and procedures that are very effective. And I believe that the American people, they don't have to go through BUD/S, but they can definitely look at the way we go about targeting ourselves and other people and figure out who, why, where, when, and how they could be attacked, and just avoid those places, mitigate the circumstances, or if you can't and you have to be there, then you can come up with a plan to act.
Yeah, that's vital, and I hope everybody's getting that right now, especially on my end, because we talk about that when I do my survival talks. I always talk about the fact that children have instincts within them when they're born. The problem is, as we coddle our children, which we all do, I hug my kids, I tell them I love them, I protected them when they were little, that's my job. But, growing up the way I grew up, my parents hugged us, they coddled us, but they also, because of the fact that we didn't have running water, electricity, and all that stuff when we were little, we had to live off the land in the sense that, we had to shoot our own animals, clean our own animals, do that, but we knew danger points. The creek, is if you couldn't swim yet, don't cross that creek.
Right.
Even if we did, and we tried anyway. And danger points in the woods, and rattlesnakes, and, things that were dangerous. Stay away from the chainsaw, stay away from, the axe when you're swinging it, stuff like that. Just basic instinctive stuff that kids know, whoa, that's bad. But kids also have a sense of no fear,
right?
Until they figure this out. But they have a sense of danger, which is amazing. A child gets lost in the woods. They know to stay put. They know to find shelter. They know not to, they figure out the dangers of the woods fairly quickly.
But Ron, I don't believe that you have to, and you probably are the epitome of this with your kids. I don't believe that you have to send your kids into the woods where they have to rely on that intuition. You literally, whether it's the woods or your home or the Stadium Arena in Manchester for the Aria Grande concert, which I talk about, you don't have to wait for them to go through it and hope that they react correctly. You can, and it doesn't matter if your dad's a SEAL or if your mom is a hardworking factory worker. You can sit back and discover all the different places where you can be attacked. It's not impossible, and the types of attacks that can happen, so that you can develop and forward think this, so you don't just have to react.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. So we got a couple things coming up here, Jonathan. We got the State of the Address.
Yep.
State of the Union's coming up here in about 15 minutes.
Yep. I got to ask you about that. So I wrote in the title of today's show that the State of the Union is that we're in bad shape. Actually, it's very apparent it's in bad shape, and everyone in D.C. should be fired. He should say that and then drop the mic and walk off the stage.
I think you're absolutely right, because I seen a synopsis of this on NBC where they actually went back and did all the State of the Union since President Reagan. President Reagan was the first one to say, "We are good," and we are strong. I'm sorry, we are strong. And then every State of the Union since then, including Democrat and Republican, all the way up to Obama, every speech said, "We are strong." Well, I laughed about that when I heard it, because we are not strong in our inner country ourselves, because we're so separated right now, left and right. I think a large amount of that honestly has to do with the media. I have to push that out, because the media is feeding into ratings, and they're feeding into the minority of folks that are going out and doing these things. And it's mostly inner city, and they're buying the liberals and that are buying their votes. That's how they get their votes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this country, Washington, Republican and Democrat, I don't care, left and right, they're so off right now, both sides.
Yep. I think, to tell you the truth, Ron, most people don't even realize that the Democratic and Republican parties are private companies. They don't even realize that. They're not government agencies. Those are private companies, just like anything else. Wouldn't be any different if Home Depot and Lowe's owned every seat of government in the United States. And that's what they do. Look, when you see Congress and the Senate and the House of Representatives, the Supreme Court justices, and all those generals and everybody up there, they are going to be divided by left and right, liberal and conservative. And it's a joke, because, Ron, we're not given a mission by hire and told, that's my Ranger speak, where, hire gives you a mission. You don't go back and do it according to your ideology. You go back and you plan 3 concepts of operation. You hand it up. They bring it back down. Once one gets approved, then you go and you develop the ultimate plan that is going to bring you mission success. You don't see that in Washington, D.C. They don't do anything for mission success. That's not their main goal. And so everything's broken.
Oh, it's absolutely broken. It's broken to the point, like you said, the DMC is an LLC. Yeah. It's a corporation. And when Georgia was having a minor area was having 2 congressmen run for office, what did they do? They piled in $150-some million. The DMC piled in money so that person could try to win. They didn't. But the point is, they're trying to out social media, and outspend, our Constitution.
Yeah.
And what it stands for, so that they can have power. And we see this every day. I was going to, real quick, I was going to talk about that with TSA. They took ammo from me at my check-in bag. It was a cardboard box labeled normal that you ship and UPS and everything else.
Yeah.
And they sent me so they took the ammo, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe they like their rounds or something. And they said, for your safety and ours, passengers of the Department of Transportation, hazardous material.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? When you send this off, when you send ammo across USPS, which is our own postal service, won't deliver ammo. It's illegal to send ammunition through the postal service. You have to do it through FedEx or UPS ground shipment. And the killer about that is, and that is one that's fine. But the point that I'm trying to make here is they took my ammunition and gave me a note that I could never get it back. And it was boxed properly. And I've flown with that ammo a long time, so it depends what airport you come out of.
Right. Where was that?
That was Nevada.
Wow.
That was Las Vegas, of all things.
During the SHOT Show.
That was when we left the SHOT Show, yes.
So I'd be very interested to track where that ammunition goes.
I would be very interested as well. I actually would be just totally interested.
Yeah.
So, and that's not the first time I've had something missing or something happen. So it kills me. You know, I flew into Portsmouth, not Portsmouth, but I flew into New England State. Gosh, I'll think of it here in a second. But my bow case looked like it was run over by a forklift. Like literally, you had to have run it over. So when I took it into the TSA guys and the American Airline luggage, they told me, because it's a sporting good container, they are not responsible for the contents or the breakage of that. If it was regular luggage, it'd be a different deal.
That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No, it doesn't. So I put in a claim. I did it. I called the hotline. I did everything I was supposed to do, and still they said the same thing. So the system against the TSA, against Second Amendment, it depends who you hand your weapon to at the thing too. You know, so one of these days I'm gonna have a whole thing on that. But right now, I know the State of the Union's gonna start in about 10 minutes. I want everybody out there to go buy this book. You know, right here, Sheep No More. And in 2 weeks, we're gonna have Jonathan Gilliam back on. And we're going to break this book down, and we're going to have this book broke down to us, and we're going to talk in depth about it. Another thing I wanted to ask you real quick was, I'd have I'm wondering about with the media. We just talked about State of the Union and our media and the government and everything else.
Yep.
So when we were in Las Vegas at the SHOT Show, one thing I was kind of disappointed about, even from the SHOT Show's perspective, is that we didn't take a moment in time at the SHOT Show for all those people that were shot in Vegas itself.
Yeah. And it's very odd.
That we didn't do that, because that's something that we should have done. But two, and more importantly, have you heard anything what's going on with that? Because you hear all these conspiracies, just fake news stuff, and
so
the media is not even reporting it anymore.
Here's what's interesting. I guess tonight the reporting that a person of interest has come up in court records, but all the cops that I talked to that were from Vegas, you know, because I did a book signing one day and a lot of cops came by. Sorry for coughing, and they all said the same thing. They believe this guy was an arms dealer. These are cops that I talked to from Vegas. And because I threw this out there, I said, I think the guy was there's evidence to show that he was possibly an arms dealer, that and that there were other people involved, and weapons that we don't even know about were involved, and they didn't disagree. I mean, look, that's very, very strange when you have local law enforcement officers. I'm not talking about one, and I'm not talking about a group of people that were hanging out. I'm talking over a 5-day period. I talked to over a dozen of these Las Vegas PD individuals, and they all were very mystified by this whole thing. So
why would, I understand investigations going on, and we don't need to know if it's if it's going to hinder an investigation. I'm all about, keeping the mouth shut and all that. I got it.
Yeah, but a terrorist attack, that's the thing. If it's a terrorist attack, tell people about it. And then the more people that know about it, they're going to be able to provide information. But I don't know. I have a feeling it has to do with the fact that Vegas is a huge tourist attraction, and they don't want to blow it by letting out all this information. But I'll tell you something, Ron. When I was there, I was analyzing from an attacker's point of view everything that I saw. That place is a soft target just waiting to be hit again. And you get certain times of the night, it doesn't matter where you go. There's thousands and thousands of people. and they're drunk, and they're not paying attention to anything. And Ron, this is a place where just, a short period of time ago was the biggest mass shooting in the history of the United States. And I go there and people are drunk. They're not caring in the world about anything. And it's a perfect example of what's wrong with this country, is that people are so comfortable and they have their lives and they know that they have their desires and the things that they want to do, that they walk around in like a spoiled brat in oblivion to anything, caring about other people, holding politicians to the task. They want to elect people who go up and fix everything so that they have a bunch of money and hardly have to work. That's basically what they do. And when you see Vegas, you see the way people walk around with just shortly after a mass attack and nobody has a clue. It is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, they cover up at a massive scale only because there are cameras literally everywhere.
Yeah, they'll capture the incident, but they're not going to stop it.
Yeah, I've stayed there. There's cameras in every corridor. There's cameras in the elevators. There's cameras on the floor. There's cameras when you check in, where your luggage goes through in the back. There's cameras everywhere. So, and this whole bump gun thing that came up. Somebody asked me that at the SHOT Show. One of our fans that came up and asked me about the bump gun, and I said, if you're a human being who's going to buy a bump gun, you're an idiot. Because number one, that gun that was sounding, you must have been the best bump gun dude in the world, because it's not like that. It's a controlled AD is what it is.
Right.
It's even controlled. So.
Also, Ron, let's be honest. If that guy had just, unless that was some kind of fully automatic weapon that we don't know about, that was throwing down a lot more rounds than we know about, just simply sitting there and picking a target and taking them out is much more effective than spraying and praying. We never use a fully auto. Most people are surprised by that in the teams. We rarely ever use fully auto. The point man's about the only person that ever uses that.
No, we honestly in combat. I mean, it's point shooting, and you point shoot a little faster if you need to draw some fire, do some cover.
Yeah,
never really want to draw fire, but you're point shooting. Even the guys that were on the turret guns in the 50, I want them to get on it, rock and roll, but they would have enough with bump, 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 bump.
Right.
I mean, that was not. But the sounds that came from that night, of course, there's an echo. I got that. I've been in tight alleyways with guns going off. You don't even know where the gun's coming from, where the sound's coming from.
Right.
But you know if it's a fully automatic weapon or not.
Yeah. Because it's uniformed.
You're dang right. And a bump gun isn't uniform in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So I think that, with that being said, and the State of the Union is, 4 minutes away, I would really be interested in, kind of seeing what comes out of that, because if it's a terrorist act, we do need to know, because we need people to be aware. We need
Yes.
I mean, some noticed at SHOT Show that they did this year that they haven't done. They had a heightened sense of security guys in civilian clothes.
Yeah.
And I picked a few of them out in the crowd, but I also picked a few of them out. They made sure they were seen.
Right.
They had the videos, they had cameras, they had everything they needed to make sure. And I don't know what they had outside the venue, because how much light we didn't see any light of day for a week, bro.
Yeah, I know. Dude, it was killer. I get up early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, go down to help David Webb, and then do my show in the evening and walk. Like, my legs were just done. I've got this injured leg. It was ridiculous. But let me tell you, I'll leave you with this, Ron, because the speech is going to start in here in a second. I will, and I talk about this in the book. Law enforcement, because of the pattern in which the leaders in law enforcement throughout the years have gone, it's primarily smoke and mirrors. It's not going to stop anything. They look like, they got guys here, they're going to do this. It's not going to stop an attack. They'll just be there to respond when it happens. And that's the sad truth. Most of the stuff that they set up is responsive in nature.
That's right. And it's up to us, the common American, to be aware, report things that aren't right, and err on the side of being wrong.
Yep.
So I would, if my neighbor was making a bunch of bombs right now, I don't care who the hell they were, I would definitely definitely report that if it was out of the norm, because my neighbors here don't. I mean, if I was out here blowing something up, they would just think it was me shooting sure shot or something. You know?
Yeah. That's what happens when you live next door to a seal in the woods. So
in the woods, you know something's going to go boom, bang, and we're going to have some fun. I got the EOD here who want to come out and do some stuff. So
wow. I miss that. I miss blowing stuff up for sure. All right, listen, let's go and let's let these guys go, and then anytime you want me on to come back on and talk about this book, I will. But people will not be let down. All I ask is if they give it a review, they give it a structured review. Don't just go on there and knock me. I freaking hate that. These people have such keyboard muscles these days.
Where's the best place for people to get your book, bro?
Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com.
Where do you want them to get it?
Well, Amazon has a bestseller list that's paid attention to. So Amazon.com is probably the best place.
You're going to beat Hillary's book in Amazon, don't you?
It was number 11, but I couldn't. I'm not going to say that. She was number 10. I was number 11, but I never got around her. Just put it to you that way. There was obstacles in the way.
She's an obstacle all by her hips.
That's what I was going to say. Oh Lordy. Hey, I'm oblivious because I have the flu. So pray for me tomorrow. I got to host David Webb show tomorrow with David. So it's going to be a long 3 hours, and then I'll be on Newsmax tomorrow night as well.
Okay, good, man. Well, enjoy, and thanks for coming on, brother. And I'll have you on in 2 weeks, and we'll go through the book.
You got it, my friend. Be safe.
All right, brother.
Peace out.
Out. There you have it, folks.
Ron Bell, and there you go, folks. That was kind of cool. We're doing 2 shows at the same time. I'm going to get off here. We got 1 minute left. I'm not going to do a Truth Zone. We'll just cut it, and everybody go and watch the State of the Union address. But if it was me giving it, I'd just say things are bad. And we need to fire everybody in D.C. There's my State of the Union. Peace out, folks. I will see you tomorrow. If you're paying attention on Sirius tomorrow, I'll be hosting the David Webb Show from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tune in. It's going to be fun because of this whole thing I got going on. Hopefully I won't get any worse. But if I do, I'm a warrior. It's time. I love you. I'm Jonathan Gillum. That's Rico over there. I'll see you tomorrow on The Experts. The truth has arrived. CQRF.